So I'm thinking she's going to save him. I don't know. Let's see. Thank you, Brokoff, Aunt Elaine said. She pulled Will inside and pushed the heavy wooden door closed behind them. There was a thick iron bolt on the other side, and she slid it into place and looked furtively around the great hall that they entered. The pleasant smile was gone, and her mouth was closed in a pale, grim line. Before Will could ask what was happening, she tapped a finger against her lips and led him into a narrow corridor. Not a word now, she whispered. No one must see or hear that I have to get you out of here. But where's my brother? Will hissed back. Hush, she cried. Just do exactly as I say. They slipped down the dark passage and out into a shadowy corner of the courtyard, close to where the wall of the crags met the steep mountains. The moment they stepped outside, they heard angry shouts. Will couldn't make out the words, but he knew his disappearance must have been the root of the commotion. He heard the thump of boots getting louder. Aunt Elaine pressed her back to the wall and put her hand across his chest to push him back as well. Will saw a long shadow draw near and then move away. He heard his aunt exhale gratefully. Now, she said, and she pulled him behind her and ran. Will didn't know where they could possibly be going. It looked like they were heading for a sheer, impenetrable face of rock. But then he saw the narrow stairs that had been hacked out of the ledge, 3 feet wide at the most, leading to the top of the wall. Keep low, Aunt Elaine said, pushing him ahead of her. Will climbed the steps on all fours. Near the top, he poked his head and peered out into the courtyard. He recognized his uncle, sending men off in every direction as others ran up and reported to him. Uncle Hugh abruptly smacked himself on the head with the heel of his hand. He turned and raced into the keep as if there was a fire inside that needed putting out. Strange, Will thought. What did he just remember? Will and his aunt reached the top of the wall. Over there, she said, pointing to the nearest watchtower. A grizzled watchman, the oldest fellow Will had seen so far the crags, was inside. He gave Will a suspicious glance but nodded to Aunt Elaine. Will saw beads of sweat on the man's brow. Hurry, the watchman said, waving them inside the tower. There was a coiled rope in his hand. I don't think you have long. So obviously this guy in the watchtower is working with Aunt Elaine. Thank you, Tristan, Aunt Elaine said. Tristan tied one end of the rope to an iron ring that was secured to the wall. He tossed the coil over. Are you sure you can make it down? Tristan asked her. I don't see why not, Aunt Elaine said. She swung her legs over, wrapped them around the rope, and began to lower herself to the ground, some 30 feet below. Wow, so they have to climb down that tower, 30 feet. Will looked up at Tristan. This whole episode had his head spinning, but he could tell this man was taking a great risk by helping him. Thank you, he said. I'm doing it for her, lad, Tristan whispered back, jutting his chin toward the place where Aunt Elaine had disappeared. My arm would have rotted off if it wasn't for that angel's medicine. Of course, you can always put in a good word for me with the Baron. He looked over the wall. She's made it down. Down you go. Will was beside his aunt a moment later. Follow, she said. She led him along the foot of the mountain away from the crags. They went down a gully filled with loose stones, crouching to stay low out of sight. Will was bursting with questions. Why am I in danger? Where's my brother? But he knew it wasn't safe to talk yet. At the bottom of the gully, a soldier stood holding the reins of 2 horses. There was something familiar about him, and Will realized that he looked like a younger version of the watchman they had just met, with the same round face, small eyes, and upturned nose. So one would gather that it's probably his son. I can't thank you enough, Thurston, Aunt Elaine said. You and your father have fine hearts. Not as fine as yours, Thurston said, flashing a nervous smile. There was a blue cloak draped over the smaller horse. It looked like something a woman would wear. Aunt Elaine handed it to Will. Put this on, she said. If we're seen, they'll think you're my servant. Thurston spoke quietly as they mounted their horses. Be careful, dear lady. We saw a strange beast at the northern ledge early this morning, right over there. Will straightened in his saddle. The beasts were here? Thurston peered up curiously. That's right, lad. A whole pack of them, he said. His neck craned forward as he looked closely at Will. Say, you look like your twin. But that's the point of twins, ain't it? You've seen Bert. Is he all right? Will asked breathlessly. Thurston opened his mouth to speak, but closed it again after a glance at Aunt Elaine. There's no time, Will, Aunt Elaine said, tugging her reins to guide her horse. You'll let the Baron know I helped you, won't you, lad? Put in a word for me, Thurston said as Will trotted away. Will waved feebly. He gnawed at his upper lip as he stared at his aunt. You still haven't told me where my brother is. Wow. So a couple things. So we have this watchtower and his guard and his son helping Aunt Elaine. Why are they risking their lives to help? Do you remember? That's right, because she saved the watchtower's arm by her medicines. Remember, she was big into finding plants that would cure people. So she helped him. And this is karma, right? You put kindness out, you get kindness back. So this is an example of that. So we have them leaving the Crags. And yet we still don't know the fate of Bert. We know that he's tied up in the secret room. We will see what happens on Monday. This is getting even better now, because now we have Aunt Elaine in there trying to help out. And the Baron has yet to be told what's going on. So we will see. Tomorrow is Friday, so I have a special treat for you. Instead of doing small group and reading, you are going to take a virtual trip to the tundra. That's right, you're going to take a trip to the tundra. The tundra is where it is very cold, lots and lots of snow and glaciers and ice and polar bears. And so you're going to go on an expedition. We are going to go together, where we're going to learn about polar bears. While you're watching the video, I want you to practice taking notes about polar bears, because we're going to do something with it next week. So be sure to leave your comments and let me know what you think. Every Friday, we will take a virtual trip without leaving the house to super cool places. Tomorrow will be the tundra, in which we will look at polar bears. So I'm pretty excited. I will see you tomorrow in the tundra. Good night.